If you're planning on staying in a deluxe Disney World resort, you're probably planning on spending a lot of money to be here. Not all Magic Kingdom resorts give you the exact same experience, even though they're all priced about the same. So I'm staying here at Copper Creek at Disney's Wilderness Lodge to show you what you actually get and what it really feels like to be here. I've actually owned DVC here for years and somehow never stayed here, so this is a first for me too. Let's go check it out.
Thanks so much to DVC Rental Store for sponsoring today's video. They help travelers stay at deluxe Disney resorts for significantly less than booking directly through Disney, and I'll show you what that price difference can actually look like later in the video. After finally spending time here, I understand why Wilderness Lodge has such a loyal fan base. This stay felt relaxing in a way that surprised me. It felt cozy, calm, almost like a mountain retreat dropped into the middle of Disney World, and that is very different from how most Disney trips feel. Wilderness Lodge does not feel like it's trying to rush you toward the parks. It feels like it's trying to pull you away from them for a minute. The resort opened in the mid-90s, and it is inspired by the great national park lodges of the Pacific Northwest, which is honestly part of why it feels so unusual in Central Florida. It has this mountain retreat feeling, but then you step outside and remember you're still very much in Florida, right next to the water, the wildlife, humidity, Spanish moss on the trees, and all of the swamp adjacent reality. So it's very not Florida. And once you understand that design inspiration, the details start to make more sense. The scale of the lobby, the woodwork, the stone, the water, the way the whole space feels like it was built to make you slow down and look around. The lobby is where this resort makes its first impression, and boy does it make one. It doesn't feel like a place you just pass through on the way to your room. It feels like somewhere you could sit down for a while, chill, and just take it all in. The fireplace is one of those details that is easy to admire even if you don't know the story behind it, but it is designed to represent the layers of the Grand Canyon. Once you notice that, it gives the space another layer of meaning. There are carvings, artifacts, headdresses, textures, and little design details all through this lobby. It does not feel like decoration that was just placed there to fill space. It feels intentional and educational, and that is really the thing about Wilderness Lodge. The environment itself is part of the experience. This is one of those resorts where I found myself wanting to wander. Even though I was there filming and technically working, it still felt like a really calm day. I didn't feel rushed, and I kept finding all these little spaces I wanted to stop and look at. There's the Carolwood Pacific Room, which is tucked away and dedicated to Walt Disney's love of trains. It would be very easy to miss this if you didn't know to look for it. There's the Mercantile, the arcade, the resort activity areas, the waterfront, the Geyser, the walking paths, and all these quiet little places where you can just sit for a minute. This is not a resort where the only point is sleeping near Magic Kingdom. This is a resort that gives you reasons to stay on property and actually enjoy being here. Now let's look at this room, because this is where the practical side of the stay comes in. This is a Copper Creek Studio Villa, and right away I would say it feels more like a deluxe hotel room than a big villa. The room I booked was a resort view, and I'll be honest, ours was ground level with a patio that looked toward the wall around the Boulder Ridge Cove pool. But this was not one of those magic sweeping balcony views, but we'll get to that in the next episode of our Magic Kingdom Resort series. So if you want a balcony fireworks view experience, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that resort tour. So depending on what you book and what is available, views can vary quite a bit here, so if the view really matters to you, pay attention to the room category and requests. For this stay, the room itself was more important to us than the patio view. Just be sure to always read the descriptions. You're not getting a full kitchen in the studio, but you do get a kitchenette with a microwave, refrigerator, coffee maker, small sink, storage, and a surprising amount of practical extras like paper plates, cups, utensils, paper towels, dish soap, basically enough little conveniences to make simple meals, snacks, leftovers, or breakfast in the room feel doable. The studio setup is compact but functional, and the second sleeping space folds away during the day, which helps the room feel more open. One thing worth knowing if you're traveling with a larger family, these Copper Creek studios only sleep 4. They do not have that 5th sleeper option. If you do need that extra sleeping space, Boulder Ridge Studios here may be worth looking into, because those do sleep 5. And one of the quiet practical perks of staying in a DVC villa is access to complimentary laundry. That doesn't really sound exciting, but on a longer Disney trip, especially with kids and with the Florida weather, that can be a real benefit. So this room is not about massive space, it's about having a comfortable deluxe room experience with a few practical villa style features. And if a studio feels too small for your travel style, both Copper Creek Villas and Cabins at Disney's Wilderness Lodge and Boulder Ridge Villas at Disney's Wilderness Lodge also offer 1, 2, and 3 bedroom villas depending on availability. Some of those larger floor plans can sleep up to 12 guests. And Copper Creek also has those beautiful waterfront cabins if you're traveling with a large larger family or multi-generational group and want something completely different. So even though I stayed at a studio, there are definitely larger options here depending on what kind of trip you're planning. And before we keep going, let's talk about how people actually book rooms here, because Wilderness Lodge can be a little confusing if you're new to Disney Vacation Club. There are traditional hotel rooms at Wilderness Lodge that you can book directly through Disney, but there are also 2 Disney Vacation Club properties here, Copper Creek Villas and Cabins and Boulder Ridge Villas. I booked this stay using my own Disney Vacation Club points, but you don't have to own DVC to stay in these villas. This is where renting points can come in. DVC Rental Store sponsored this video, and they help guests book stays at Disney Vacation Club resorts by renting points from DVC members. Pricing changes constantly, so always check your exact travel dates. But while I was editing this video, I ran 2 examples through DVC Rental Store's pricing tool. A one-night stay in mid-June in a Copper Creek Deluxe studio, just like the room I just showed you, was over $288 less than booking directly through Disney. And just in case your family needs that 5th sleeper, a mid-October stay at Boulder Ridge was over $331 less. That is why I think point rentals are worth understanding before automatically ruling out deluxe resorts. DVC Rental Store also offers payment plans and a cashback cancellation policy, which is worth paying attention to because flexibility matters when you are spending this kind of money on a trip. And full transparency, because I am an affiliate partner with DVC Rental Store, if you decide to book through my link, I may earn a small commission at no additional cost to you. I also want to mention that my own DVC contract came from DVC Resale Market, which is part of the same keyholder family of companies as DVC Rental Store. They were genuinely great to work with, and that experience is part of why this partnership made sense to me. I have been recommending DVC Rental Store to my own friends and family for years. But the bigger point here is this: if you have looked at deluxe Disney pricing and assume places like this are completely out of reach, renting points is something worth understanding. After getting settled in, lunch at Geyser Point felt like the perfect way to ease into this resort. We sat at the bar looking out over the water, and this is where Wilderness Lodge really started to feel like a retreat. The food and drinks we had were great, the setting was beautiful, and the whole place had this really relaxed energy. It's the kind of spot that makes you just want to sit for a while instead of just eating and moving on. And then this happened. This is kind of the perfect visual representation of Geyser Point. It is charming and relaxed, but you are absolutely at the mercy of the outdoors. And that really is the trade-off. On a beautiful day, Geyser Point is a highlight, but it is fully outdoors, and this is still Florida. Heat, humidity, wind, afternoon storms, those things matter. So I loved it for lunch, and I would absolutely go back, but I don't know that I would rely on it as my only idea of a special date night dinner. The pools also add a lot to the resort experience here. Copper Creek Springs Pool is the main feature pool with more activity, the slide, and the splash area. This is where families are probably going to spend a lot of time, and from what I saw, the kids were having a blast. Then you also have Boulder Ridge Cove Pool, which has a quieter feel and fits the more relaxed side of the resort. One thing I did notice compared to some of the other Magic Kingdom Deluxe resort is that Wilderness Lodge doesn't really have that dedicated pool bar set up at both of the pool areas. Geyser Point kind of carries a lot of that responsibility here. And while the setting is beautiful, that can be a little less convenient if you're solo parenting at the pool, traveling alone with kids, or just want easy access to snacks and drinks without leaving the pool area. That being said, you can mobile order from both Geyser Point and Roaring Fork, which definitely helps, but you still need to leave the pool area to grab your order. It's not a huge issue, but it's just another example of this resort being a little more atmosphere driven than convenience driven. And that is one of the things I really liked about Wilderness Lodge, is it gives you options. You can lean into the family energy, or you can go find a quiet corner. There's also a fitness center here called Sturdy Branches Health Club, which is a cute name and very on theme. I didn't use it this trip, but it is another one of those deluxe resort amenities that matters if you're someone who likes to keep your routine going while you travel. And that extends into the evening too. At night, they have Movies Under the Stars playing by the waterfront. When I was there, they were showing The Little Mermaid, and I also walked down to the shoreline to catch the electrical water pageant floating by. You can also catch a very distant, partially obstructed view of Magic Kingdom fireworks from the waterfront area. It is definitely not a replacement for being in the park or staying somewhere like Bay Lake Tower, but it is still a nice little bonus if you happen to be back at the resort. And if fireworks views are high on your priority list, stay tuned for the next episode of this series, because we are definitely talking about that. And this is is where I started realizing how much there actually is to do here without ever stepping foot in a park. By evening, the dining situation became one of the most interesting parts of the stay for me. Before dinner, we stopped into Territory Lounge, and honestly, this felt like one of the hidden gems of the resort. It is cozy, quieter, and more adult feeling. It gave us exactly what I wanted in that moment, a place to sit, have a drink, and reset before dinner. I had the timeless Elias, which is a smoked old-fashioned style cocktail, and I got one of those deeply satisfying shots of lifting the coaster and watching the smoke come out of the glass, which is not important information for planning your trip, but it made me happy, so here we are. Then we went to Whispering Canyon Cafe for dinner, and this is where I think the biggest dining trade-off at Wilderness Lodge shows up. Whispering Canyon is very much an experience. It is playful, interactive, loud, and fun. If you have kids or a big family group, or you want that kind of silly Disney dinner energy, this can be a great fit. But if you are traveling as a couple, or you're coming back from a long park day and just want a quieter indoor dinner, this may not be what you're looking for. And at this price point, I think that matters. When you're paying this kind of money to stay in a deluxe resort, it is fair to expect the logistics to feel easy. And for some travelers, that includes having a calm indoor table service option that is not character dining and not a high energy experience. There is another full service restaurant here, Storybook Dining at Artist Point with Snow White. I did not eat there during the stay, but I want to mention it because it is another option, especially if character dining fits your group. So overall, dining here is not bad. In fact, I enjoyed everything we ate, but the dining setup is very personality dependent. Geyser Point is beautiful but outdoors. Whispering Canyon is fun but chaotic. Territory Lounge is a great adult reset, but it's not really a full dinner replacement. So the question is not, is there food here? There is. The better question is, does the dining setup fit the way you want your trip to feel? Just some food for thought. Now let's talk about transportation, because this is one of the biggest decision points for staying at Wilderness Lodge. Normally, one of the big appeals here is boat transportation to Magic Kingdom. The boats are weather dependent, so even when they are normally running, storms or conditions on the water can still change the plan. And I do think the boat is a beautiful way to travel. Pulling away from Magic Kingdom on the water, especially at night when everything is lit up, feels very different from just getting on a bus. It can feel peaceful, it can feel scenic, it can even feel like part of the experience, but it is not the fastest option. And at the end of a long day, when you're tired and just want to get back to your room, that extra time can feel very real. Also, during my actual stay, the boats were not running because of refurbishment, so transportation to Magic Kingdom was by bus. And this is one of my biggest practical tips for any Disney resort stay. Always check the Disney app or the website before your trip for refurbishments, transportation changes, pool closures, or construction. Disney is almost always working on something somewhere. And if part of your mental picture of this resort is that relaxing boat ride to Magic Kingdom, you want to know before you get there if that boat ride has turned into a bus ride. That does not ruin the stay, but it definitely changes the experience. The next morning, Roaring Fork made breakfast really easy. This is the quick service spot here. It has coffee, grab-and-go items, and several solid breakfast options. I had the breakfast tachos, which were basically potato barrels with eggs, cheese, and sausage gravy, and they were very, very good. My husband had the quiche, and he liked that too. It did not feel overly busy when we were there. We waited maybe like 5 minutes to order. The food came out pretty quickly, and you can also mobile order and take your food to go. We chose to sit outside, and it was a really nice, relaxed way to start the morning before checkout. So for breakfast, I actually think Wilderness Lodge works really well. It felt easy, flexible, and not at all stressful. I did not expect to feel as relaxed here as I did. Even though I was filming and working and trying to capture a lot in a short stay, the day still felt calm and unhurried. That is what surprised me most. We did go over to Magic Kingdom for a couple of hours, mostly to walk around and see the freshly painted castle, but I did not feel any pull to stay longer. If anything, I was looking forward to coming back to the resort. And I think that says a lot about Wilderness Lodge. This is for you if you want a more laid-back trip, if the parks are not necessarily the main focus every single day, or if you're planning a stay with resort time or non-park days built in. It is also a resort where I think kids can have a great time between the pool, splash area, activities, arcade, and just the amount of space to explore. There's a lot here beyond the parks. But if you are rope dropping to fireworks every day and trying to move as quickly as possible, this probably is not your best fit. You are going to feel the transportation trade-off more than someone who is building in slower mornings, breaks, or resort time. So for me, Wilderness Lodge is a yes for atmosphere. It is beautiful, immersive, calm, and cozy, but it comes with real trade-offs around transportation speed and quiet indoor dining flexibility.
That's why I think it's really important to slow down and be really thoughtful about which one of these resorts that you choose, because they're all a very different experience. That's why I'm staying at every Magic Kingdom resort, so that I can guide you through what's actually there and show you what kind of experience it is, so that you can make the decision that's best for your trip.
Let me know in the comments if you think Wilderness Lodge is a stay or nay for your next trip. And if you want to learn more about booking Disney Vacation Club villas for less through point rentals, I will leave my DVC rental store link below. Thanks again to DVC Rental Store for sponsoring this video, and I will see you in the next Magic Kingdom resort stay.